Hi everyone, happy Friday. So I am going to be going over your compare and contrast assignment for this week. So let's read the first slide here. So number one, it wants us to compare and contrast the two robots below. So remember, comparing and contrasting. Comparing means that we are saying what is the same, and contrasting is we're saying what is different. So let's look at the two robots here. It wants us to say what is the same and what is different. So one thing I can see that is the same is it looks like they are both cooking or baking. So let's say they are, and I will make this bigger, they are both baking. And then one thing that is different, well, this one kind of looks like he might be a boy, right? And this one looks like it might be a girl. So we can say one is a boy and one is a girl. Okay? All right. So we said one thing that was the same and one thing that was different. So we compared and contrasted. Slide number 2 it wants us to compare and contrast the picture below with a day at the park. So similarities and differences. So we can just say one of each. So something similar about a day at the beach and a day at the park. Well, you might play, right? Once again, I have to make this bigger. So you can play at both places. Something that's different might be at the beach you can go swimming, right? You can go swimming at the beach, but not at the park. Unless the park has some kind of swimming pool or something, but let's just assume that it doesn't. So similarity and a difference between the beach and a park is you can play at both places. That's a similarity. We're comparing the two places. And a difference is you can go swimming at the beach, but not at the park. So that's our contrast. Slide number 3, compare and contrast the garden tools below. What is the same about the tools? So we can say something that's the same is they are both used in dirt, right? They're both used in dirt or in gardens, we could say, or gardens. What's something different? Well, just from looking at them, I can see that this one over here, the shovel, does not have like these little teeth like on a fork, right? So we can say they have different shapes. Okay? So we compared, we said something that was the same, and we contrasted, we said something that was different. Slide number 4 here, compare and contrast the activities the two girls are doing in the pictures below. So what is the same about the girls? So if I'm looking at the girls, they both have sticks in their hands, right? So we can say they both have a stick in their hand. But it wants us to also say something that is different about the activities that the girls are doing. So this girl over here, it looks like she's roasting a marshmallow, and this girl looks like she's getting ready for a hike. She has her hiking boots on, she has her walking stick. So we can say one girl is roasting a marshmallow and the other girl is going on a hike. So they both have a stick. That's something that's the same. We're comparing, but something different is that one is roasting a marshmallow and the other is going on a hike. That's our contrasting. Okay, next. Compare and contrast the setting you see below with the setting you see when you look out your window. Similarities and differences. So this would be different depending on where you live and what your view looks like out your window. But let's see, a similarity between this view and what I see out my window is in both views, I see buildings. So if I look out my window, I'll see houses. And if you look out at this picture, you see buildings too. A difference would be, let's see, I do not see a bridge when I look out my window. I see houses and yards. Okay, so similarity in both views, we see buildings, and a difference is that in this one, in this picture here, they see a bridge, and when I look out my window, I see people's yards. So similarities, differences, comparing and contrasting. Compare and contrast the classroom you see below with your classroom. So something similar between this classroom and my classroom. Both classrooms have boards at the front, and a difference could be that this classroom has tables and my classroom has desks. So something that's the same and something different. All right. So this one says, read the statement, then determine whether the two items are being compared or contrasted. Both scissors and nails are made out of metal. So that word both here is giving me a big hint that we are comparing. We're talking about things that are the same about these two items. And then it says, explain how you know, which I just said to you, right? It is talking about something that they both have in common. So when you're talking about something they both have or something that is the same, that is comparing. Next, read the statement, then determine whether the two items are being compared or contrasted. A timer and a clock can both be used to keep track of time. So again, I see that word both, and we're talking about something that is the same about the timer and the clock, so that would be comparing. And I'm going to have a similar answer here to the last one. It is talking about something that they both have in common, which in this case is that they can both keep track of time. So that would be comparing. Next, write a short paragraph to compare and contrast the two items below. In my directions, I just said I wanted to see one thing that was the same and one thing that was different. So let's do one thing that's the same first, between pencils and markers. So pencils and markers can both be used to write. So that is our compare. Pencils and markers can both be used to write. Something that is the same about pencils and markers. So something that is different. Pencils. How about if we say markers can be used on whiteboards and pencils cannot. So that is something that is different about them. Markers can be used on whiteboards and pencils cannot. So we compared and contrasted pencils and markers. Next one here, it's going to be the same directions. We're going to compare and contrast tires and rings. So let's do something that's the same first. Tires and rings are both round. And now something that's different. Let's say tires go on your car and rings go on your fingers. So that is something that is different about them. They have different purposes, right? Tires go on your car and rings go on your fingers, but they are both round. So we compared and contrasted. So for the next few, it wants us to read the paragraph and answer the question. So let's read it. A teacher and a doctor are both professionals who work with many people each day. Both jobs require a college degree, but doctors often have to go to school longer before they can begin working. While a teacher sees the same people each day, a doctor usually only sees the same person 1 or 2 times each year. Both jobs are well respected and important to our lives. So first question that it asks is it wants us to say, what is the same about teachers and doctors? So we can just pick one thing. So let's say both jobs require a college degree. Both jobs require a college degree. So what that means is that if you want to be a teacher or a doctor, you need to go to college for that. So you need to continue to go to school after you graduate high school. And then one thing that is different about teachers and doctors is that, let's see, doctors have to go to school longer. So doctors have to go to school longer than teachers. So that's one thing that is the same. They both require a college degree. And one thing that is different is that they need to go to school longer than teachers. So we compared and we contrasted. Next. Mother's Day and Father's Day are both holidays that we celebrate in honor of our parents. For Mother's Day, we often think of flowers, chocolates, and jewelry. Symbols of Father's Day often include football, ties, and burgers on the grill. No matter what you think of when it comes to these holidays, it's most important to remember to thank Mom and Dad for all they do. So first question, it says, what is the same about Mother's and Father's Day? So why don't we say they are both holidays that we celebrate in honor of our parents. They are both holidays that we celebrate in honor of our parents. And then one thing that is different about Mother's and Father's Day is that, let's see, for Mother's Day, we often think of flowers, chocolates, and jewelry, and for Father's Day, we often include football, ties, and burgers. So we can say we think about different things for Mother's and Father's Day. So different symbols are associated with Mother's Day and Father's Day, but they are both holidays that we celebrate in honor of our parents. So we compared and we contrasted. Okay? Even though Annabelle and Sophia were twins, from the day they were born, they were very different. Annabelle had a full head of blonde hair, and Sophia had a tiny coating of dark brown hair. Annabelle loved being wrapped up in a blanket to sleep, but Sophia preferred to be wrapped up in someone's arms. They both enjoyed staring at the Zoomobile over their crib, and as they grew older, they were each other's very best friends. So it wants us to say one way the girls are similar or the same, and one way they are different. So let's do similar first here. So let's see. One way they are similar. It says they both enjoyed staring at the Zoomobile over their crib. So we could do that. They both enjoyed at the Zoomobile over their crib. And one way that they are different, it says Annabelle had a full head of blonde hair and Sophia had a tiny coating of dark brown hair. So we can say one girl has brown hair and the other girl has blonde hair. So they have differences in their appearance. So one way they're the same, they're comparing, and one way they're different is the contrasting. Three more here. Joey and his brother Paul both play team sports. Joey plays football and Paul plays soccer. Even though they spend hours at practice every day, their hours are spent differently. Joey did weightlifting, practiced kicking field goals, and wore a large helmet to protect his head if he was tackled. Paul, on the other hand, spent most of his time running and practicing headbutting the soccer ball. Paul wore very little protection because soccer is not a contact sport like football. So we're going to say one way that Joey and Paul's practices are similar, and one way they are dissimilar or different. So one way that they are similar is, let's say they both spend hours at practice every day. And one thing that is different is that Joey does weightlifting while Paul spends time running. So their practices are different, right? Because Joey is playing football and Paul is playing soccer. So even though both of their practices are hours each day, they are doing different things at their practices. So comparing and contrasting the two practices. Kate lived in a large house with many acres of land and animals surrounding it. Her best friend Amanda lived in the city in a small loft above some stores. Amanda's landlord wouldn't let her have any pets, so she collected stuffed animals. Every morning when Amanda woke up, she heard the sound of honking horns and chatty people walking down the street. Kate, on the other hand, heard nothing but the cock-a-doodle-doo from the rooster out back. They were both living the dream. How were the girls' homes similar and different? So we're going to say one way they were similar and one way they were different. So one way that the homes were similar is that we can say they both heard noises when they woke up in the morning. They were different noises, but they both still heard noises. And we can say one way that they are different is that Kate lived in a large house with many acres of land, and Amanda lived in the city in a small loft. So Kate lived in seems like kind of a farm town, and Amanda lived in a big city. So one way they were similar, they both heard noises when they woke up in the morning, and one way they are different. Kate lived in a large house with many acres of land. Amanda lived in the city in a small loft. So we compared and contrasted the girls' homes. And last one here. David looked out his back window. There was a small fence separating his house and his neighbor's house. His dad had put grass and trees in their backyard, and his mom planted beautiful flowers that lined his deck. Looking into the neighbor's yard, though, he saw weeds, rusty furniture, and piles of dirt. He let his dog out to go play ball just as 4 dogs came barreling out of the neighbor's house to cause a commotion. They were such different backyards. How are the backyards the same, and how are they different? So we're going to compare and contrast the 2 backyards. So one way that they are the same is that we could say they both have dogs in them, right? David's yard, he only has 1 dog, and in the neighbor's yard, they have lots of dogs, but they both have dogs in them. One way they are different is that it looks like, based off what we've read here, that David's yard is very neat and tidy, and the neighbor's yard, based off what we read here, that he saw weeds, rusty furniture, and piles of dirt, is not neat and tidy. So one way they are the same is that they both have dogs in them, and one way they are different is that David's yard is very neat and tidy, and the neighbor's yard is not neat and tidy. Seems like it's kind of messy, right? It says it has rusty furniture, piles of dirt. So we compared. We said what was the same about the 2 yards, and we contrasted. We said what was different about the 2 yards. So let me know how you feel about this, how you feel about comparing and contrasting. The main takeaway from this is that comparing is talking about what is the same, and contrasting is talking about what is different. So thank you for watching, guys.